work between now and the application cycle?
Hello, Ben and Nathan. After listening to your advice on the podcast, I decided to wait a year and apply next September for law school in 2022.
Nice.
I realized that it was too late in the application process and that I need a little bit more time to get my ideal LSAT score. I was hoping that you both had some input about what I could do for work between now and September of 2022. Okay, so it's a decent amount of time. A year and a half. Is there any specific job I should look into to help my law school application? This may be a more general question, but what do you guys think is the best way to spend a year and a half before law school? Um, well, someone actually asked me this question just the other night in my class, and I told them, well, I don't know what you should do, but the two pieces of advice that I came up with at the time was one, consider getting a legal job at a law firm, not to increase your chances of getting admitted, but to know whether you really want to pursue this career.
Yep.
Because if you do that and you hate what your attorneys at your firm are doing, then yeah, it sucks. You wasted a year of your time doing this job and you're applying to law
Yeah.
school and now you're not going to go, but you just
I
saved
would,
yourself a lots of pain.
right. And if you are sure that you really do want to do like big law, let's say, absolutely get a job as a paralegal in a big law setting. But you're not doing that because it enhances your law school application. You're doing that because it's the beginning of your legal career.
Yep. And
You're
you're
doing that because you
establishing
want to make
relationships.
contacts
Mm-hmm.
and learn shit about practice so that you can be more savvy when you interview for jobs during your 1L year.
Totally. You're going to know what firms are looking for. You're going to understand the culture better than you would have. You're also going to do better in your law school classes because you're not going to have a whole new set of vocabulary words to learn. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm actually a little bit familiar with that. I still have a lot to learn, but it's not going to be the same as a lot of your newbie
You have to
colleagues.
be open to the possibility though that you like go into this
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out not to be what you thought it was,
Yeah.
and then you have to quit. You have to just I can't recommend enough that you just quit whatever. Just try something else
This
if you don't
is
like
kill
it.
your darlings, right?
Yeah. I my own career path, I'm not going to talk about the entire thing, but like in college, I was a kind of like a finance guy, and I really enjoyed like investments and stocks and bonds and all that type of stuff. I got a job right out of college as a stockbroker. Seems like a dream scenario. This is what I've been doing all throughout school. This is what I had
Yeah.
an internship. This is what I'm interested in. I got that job and I absolutely hated it. And I only lasted like 6 months, maybe 9 months. And it was really hard, but I quit. And then I did that. I ended up doing that several more times because you just don't know what it's going to be like until you actually do it. I mean, for a while, I wanted to be a writer.
Mm.
I had a journalism while I was in journalism school,
Yeah.
and I'm a baseball fan.
Yep.
I got a freelance gig working for this website, Baseball Prospectus. I was
Mm.
living in Boston at the time. I had a press pass from Baseball Prospectus to Fenway Park. I could go to all the Red Sox games. I could go down on the field. I go all around, talk to, it's like all these baseball heroes. Dream scenario, right? Hated it. Just hated it. Didn't
Yeah.
Turned out I didn't like going and asking people uncomfortable questions. I didn't like writing on a deadline. I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And thankfully I quit. And because, and I mean, I guess the punchline of the story is eventually after trying and hating and quitting like 10 different jobs, I ended up randomly teaching LSAT and falling in love with it and not only loving it, but because I love it, being pretty successful in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just really wish that more people would quit shit that they don't like, instead of like trying to force it. So to get back to our advice for F, if you're going to get a law job, it's not for at all for law school applications. It's entirely for figuring out whether this is actually the right fit for you. And if it is the right fit for you, then great, you're going to be off to the races and making contacts and, building up a legal resume for future legal work, but not at all for applications. I mean, not only that, but presumably F is going to apply in September of this year for September of the following year admission. So the time between now and then is only 8 months anyway. How impressive is 8 months on your resume to law schools? It can't be.
Yeah.
You're competing against other paralegals and legal secretaries and that type of thing who have 8 years of experience on their resume. That's impressive to schools. Your 8 months is not going to be impressive for applications. What if F wasn't going to get a legal job?
Well, that was my second piece of advice, and that
Yeah.
was to go for a job. Look at job openings in your area, or actually these days, really anywhere you're willing to go or willing to work remotely. And I suggested finding the most challenging job that that person can get that's interesting to them. Like if you see a job, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, or at least cool on some level. It doesn't need to be your passion. I think that's a little crazy, a little bit like over celebrated in America. Like, oh, I'm going to find the job that I'm passionate about. Yes, I agree with what you were just saying. You should find a job that you like, but a lot of jobs aren't going to be like passionate, right? But
No, but
anyways,
try shit that you think you are interested in, that you think you could be successful in. Like,
yes.
don't try shit that you think you're going to hate. Try
Yep.
shit that you think you're going to like. Tell me
Yep.
about the challenging bit. Why are you suggesting that?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, for the actual application, if like you have an opportunity to use your time, right? And you haven't applied yet, go get a job that's a little more than just packing sandwiches at Subway, right? Like go get something where you can actually push yourself, and that might give you something to write about in your personal statement. But even that's not the main motivation. My real motivation here is just you're building yourself, right? Like go get a job in which you're going to go to work and actually move the ball forward in some way, shape, or form. And if nothing else, just become a more competent player in your life, in your career, etc. I mean, I think it also provides more interesting fodder for your personal statement, but why not grow? Why waste this time, especially when you're younger? And you're going to be quitting this job in a year and a half anyway. So make the most of it.
Yeah. I guess I have a couple other ideas. One would be, is there anything else that you can do that would be a lucrative career that's not law,
Mm-hmm.
where maybe you could get that job and start working in it for a while and see how it is? Because lawyers
Mm,
don't, on average, make as much money, or like the mode, I should say, like the
sure.
typical lawyer doesn't make as much money as you think they make. Like
Yep.
all the bulk of the real money goes to big law
Mm-hmm.
lawyers.
Yeah.
And so, try other jobs. On our Slack channel, on our Slack for the LSAT Demon, we have a whole channel of jobs without JDs. We did an episode, I think it was back in early December, maybe late November. We did
Mm-hmm.
a whole episode on jobs without JDs. demon tutor Katie helpfully provided a whole list of different legal related jobs that you can do. Tons of immigration jobs. I can't even remember what the whole list was. Court navigation assistance. There's a whole, we had a whole podcast about it, and there's a whole channel on our Slack. But you might be able to try one of those jobs, which many of them pay as much as starting lawyers make anyway. Then it's like two birds with one stone, because you're kind of checking out the legal world, but you're making the salary of a normal, like low level lawyer. You might discover you love it, get recommitted to law school, and have some contacts to bring with you. You might decide you hate it. You might decide you love it and don't need to go to law school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I would just continue the exploration. I mean, so many people get to law school and then discover that they don't really want to practice law. So if anything you can do to either try out non-law things or try out law things that might not require a JD. Yeah. What is it that you're interested in? You know, go pursue those things. I agree,
Experiment.
Ben. I didn't say passionate about. I said, what are you interested? What do you think you're interested in? Go check those things out. All right.
Yeah.